Hi, I'm Charlotte Kavanagh. I play Rosemary on Grease, Rise of the Pink Ladies, and you're listening to Pop Culture with Pat.
Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Culture at Pat. So I am super excited to be joined by today's guest. Today we are talking all things Grease, Rise of the Pink Ladies with Rosemary herself, Charlotte Kavanagh. Thank you for coming on the show today, Charlotte.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And first off, just to start things off, congratulations on the show. We're on episode 4 now. People are loving the show. So I just wanted to say, congratulations. It must be nice to finally have the show, out for everyone to enjoy.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's honestly a huge relief. As soon as it was out there in the world, I was like, okay, now I can relax a little bit. And then it's like, okay, but what does everyone think at the same
Yeah.
time?
Because I
But
feel
it's
like it's one thing to to be working on a project, to be working on it for months or whatever, but then it's one thing, then you have that weird in between period, and then for it to finally get released and get the feedback from friends, family, the fans and stuff like that. So now you're kind of like you're in the middle of the series, and people are loving it. So before we jump into all things Grease, Rise of the Pink Ladies, I want to start off just kind of by saying or asking you, how did you get started in acting in general, and just kind of like what's been your journey up to this point?
Yeah, so I have been a professional dancer for about 8 years now. And that was I went into my career for my future as like, I want to be a dancer. I want to go on tour, film and TV, all that kind of stuff. And so I grew up dancing, did the whole thing, never thought about acting. I was working in the city and there's just so much work in Vancouver. Like they call it North Hollywood for a reason. There's so many productions. And, I ended up doing some commercials and little things like that. And my agent pretty much suggested, you should try taking some acting classes. I think you would do pretty well. I think, you should give it a go. And I was terrified because I'm not used to speaking on camera. I'm used to just like dancing and, running around. And but I just fell in love with it immediately. And I think I had a lot of moments in my life that pointed me towards acting and I ignored it. I was always really into the very theatrical dance pieces where you had to act or lip sing and things like that. So yeah, I started training 5, 6 years ago, and here I am, and I absolutely love it. Still always a dancer, but
Yeah,
really
no, that's
acting.
interesting. It's something that you weren't. It wasn't like your first like natural thing to be like, oh yeah, I want to be like an actor, as like a little kid or anything like that. And you just kind of like a natural calling. It's like, come on, Charlotte, stop ignoring the signs. Like you're gonna be an actor, at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
So you're playing the character of Rosemary in the series. What was the audition process like? Because it's one thing just for like general roles where it's like you audition for a role, but with like something like this with a musical, you have the acting part, you have the singing part, you have the dancing. So I'm curious, what was that audition process like for you? And did you audition for anybody else? Because I know usually in these things, like sometimes you'll go out for like multiple roles. Like how did that all work out?
Yeah, so there was a posting for it because they did an open casting call and then also private casting through your agencies. And I saw the open call. I messaged my agent. I was like, please audition for this. I don't know if I can still play 16, but let's do it. And she's like, we've already been working on it. And so I initially auditioned for Susan.
Okay.
Um, and I also auditioned for a character called Linda that doesn't exist anymore, who's also a Soc. And so I sent in the acting audition, the singing a song, and the dance audition, like a tape. And they're like, you have 3 days to do all this. It's like, okay.
No pressure.
No pressure. Just do your absolute best. And so I sent that in, and then I got a bunch of notes back from casting. They're like, send us a different song, make these changes, did that again. And then I got asked to go in for a callback for Susan. And so I went and did that, and it was amazing because Olivia and Annabelle and the casting directors, they really treated it like a workshop, not very like, do your audition, we're not going to say anything and then goodbye. It was
Yeah,
very
it's
like,
silly.
okay, let's try it this way. Let's like do something new, make a wild choice, give us a real greasy take. And it was really fun. And then they had in-person dance auditions as well when they came to Vancouver. And so I went to that. And at the end of the day, I got a call saying, "We want you to audition for Rosemary." Straight to Zoom callbacks. I was like, "Who's Rosemary?" No idea who this is. And I got the sides, and immediately I was like, "Oh my God, I love her. She is so chaotic." Yeah, she's like a bit of a wilder Susan in a
Yeah.
sense. I immediately connected to her and I did the audition and I was pinned. And then a few weeks later, I found out I booked it. But this is all over maybe 3 months of auditioning.
So
So
a
it
lot
was a
going
long
on.
process. Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
and by the way, what song did you end up using for as far as like the audition goes? I'm curious.
I auditioned with Happier by Olivia Rodrigo.
Oh, okay. And
Yeah.
so was that the original song? 'Cause I know you said you ended up like, did you use like another one?
Oh yeah. It was a Gwen Stefani song called Make Me Like You, I'm pretty
Oh,
sure.
okay.
It's like one of her older ones.
Oh,
Justin Tranter wrote it. They were like, do something that Justin's written. And I'm like, no pressure.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. No pressure at all.
Yeah.
Now, so you get the role. Where did you draw inspiration from as far as bringing Rosemary to life? What kind of prep did you do for the character? Did you research the time period? Did you watch other films with characters that you thought were maybe similar to what they were looking for with Rosemary? Like, how did you prep for this character?
Yeah. So obviously watched Grease 1,000 times. And did that like before every audition, every night I just watch it just to make sure I was in that right headspace. And on YouTube, there's really funny videos of it's like 1950s, how to be popular in
Oh, that's
high.
hilarious.
And so I was like, well, this is perfect. This is exactly. So and just did research of like what it's like to be a 16-year old girl in the 50s and how to stand and how to talk, things not to say. Especially because I know I was gonna be playing a proper
Yeah.
girl. So there was a bit of that. And once everyone was casted too, we all had, because this is also kind of a height of COVID, we had a lot of Zoom meetings. So the socials got together and we figured out what's our relationship to every single, one of us, and also what's our relationship to the thespians, the band kids, the wallflowers, the pinks, like just figuring out how we all related to each other in the school because at this point we have been going to school together for already a certain amount of time. So
Yeah.
we couldn't just act like we were meeting all these kids and they were meeting each other for the first time. So we wanted the audience to really come into an already lived in school.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Which makes sense. I did not know. I mean, I swear YouTube just has like everything for videos. I didn't know there was videos where you could how to be a 16-year-old girl in the 50s. That's super funny. But I mean, I guess like it ended up being helpful for you to be able to research, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Did you, because I know sometimes actors will do this, sometimes they don't. Did you come up with any kind of like additional backstory for Rosemary other than like what you're already giving from like the writers and stuff?
Yeah, so we all got to have individual meetings with Alethea and Annabelle to talk about who our characters are and where they came from. And Rosemary's in a relationship with Wally, who is like one of the few Black kids at the school. And I was wondering what's that relationship like? How long have they been together? And so we figured, they've been together for about a year, but they've never really been on a date, just the two of them. It's always in a group social setting, and my parents don't know about it. And so Rosemary definitely is the type of girl that kind of does whatever she wants, but at the same time staying, within the lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, we kind of went over, all of us social kids, we all grew up on the same street, middle upper class kids. We probably have a pool in our backyard,
Yeah.
really painting the picture of our lives.
Where
So
these characters are coming from.
yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I know, like, yeah, like I said, I know sometimes like people will do it, but sometimes people will also approach a character with not really developing a backstory and just kind of like, go into it. So now, as far as just what does it mean for you personally to be a part of the Grease world and carry on this legacy for a new generation?
It's pretty incredible. It's a huge responsibility. And I think everyone that works on this project knows that. It's really doesn't feel real. Still today, it doesn't feel super real that I got to work on this show. I mean, Grease is definitely one of the top musicals, I think, in
Oh
everyone's
yeah,
lives.
yeah,
Yeah, like
iconic.
it's so iconic. So yeah, honestly, it means everything. and we just want to make sure that we're doing it right and giving it our all.
Were you
Yeah, and
nervous at all coming? I imagine there probably was some nerves like coming into it, just where you see a project titled Grease, you know, living up to that legacy. Like, were there any nerves or anything like that?
oh, definitely, definitely, yeah, yeah. And I'm also just like, as soon as I saw it, I'm like, are they going to do it right? There's that as well. I mean, everyone had that worry when we announced the show. It was like, oh, prequel. Sometimes prequels don't really, hit the target, but I think that we've done a pretty incredible job with the show.
Oh yeah, no, I've gotten to see like a handful of like the episodes like so far, and like from what, and I'm usually, I'll let you know, like, sure, I'm usually not like a huge musical person,
Mhm.
but I've loved like the show like so far. So I think you guys have done a great job, and it's challenging too because you have to live up to the legacy of Greece, but you also have to make it, separate itself to make it its own thing while
Mhm.
also paying tribute, to that. So that's a tough thing to do, and I think that you guys, have done a good job with that on the show so far. And
Yeah.
speaking of, I guess, the original film, if Rosemary got to meet one of the original characters from the original movie, who do you think that she would get along with the most, like out of the cast?
Probably Patty Simcox. She's like almost the same person.
Yeah.
I think she'd fit right in. She's the Rydell cheerleader. She tries to steal Sandy as soon, the new girl in school. So they try to steal her right away. It's
Yeah.
kind of what the socials do. And once Jane is kind of in with our group, we're like, okay, we're friends now. So I think that Rosemary would definitely get along with her.
Get along with her.
Yeah.
What was your favorite part of getting to kind of jump into this time machine and go back to the 1950s? Because everything from the sets, the wardrobe, just everything looks absolutely amazing. So like what was your favorite part of exploring that?
The costumes. They were a lot of the dresses that the girls wore are 70-year-old dresses, like they're from the 1950s.
Wow.
So, but just the most interesting pieces, and I feel like I just like learned a lot about the 50s just in the clothing alone. And I was always so excited for my fittings because you just get to try on the most incredible outfits. A lot of the fabric's not very forgiving. I'll
Oh.
say that. So, but it helps with your posture, which you're meant to, sit up quite right. But yeah, the costumes were amazing. Also, just the whole aesthetic, like the hair. Like I don't know if you like know my hair. It's like a giant poof on the top of my head, and
Yep.
it really helps you transform into that world. In the morning, you go in, you put on your 1,000 layers of your outfit, you put the hair and the whole makeup on, and yeah, it just makes it so much easier to get into character.
Oh yeah, for sure. Was there, and I know you guys, because I was actually talking to someone else, Fiona, who worked on the show. Um, didn't get to obviously, I think, like keep like any of the outfits, but was there any of the outfits that you would have loved to have kept if you were given the chance for your character?
There's a dress that I wear in the final episode.
Okay,
I think
so
it's
you
like
haven't seen.
no, you haven't, so I can't talk about it. But
Yeah.
it's like it's pretty much the last dress you see Rosemary in, and I loved that dress. Yeah.
Okay, so definitely we'll have to keep an eye out for the finale for sure. Then, so Rosemary, she's part of Susan's friend group in the series. So a lot of your scenes are with these ladies. So can you just talk a little bit about working with all of them and what you guys did to develop that chemistry with each other for the series? I know it must have been a little bit of a challenge just with COVID and doing like the Zoom calls and stuff like that, but
Yeah, it was amazing. It was really great because one of the girls, she plays Peg, Callie Hugh. Her and I have been dancing together for 7 years, working on projects. We've done a lot of movies together. Actually, a lot of the ensemble, a lot of us have all worked together.
oh,
And
that's nice.
so chemistry between the kids was quite instantaneous. It was pretty amazing. For us, I don't know, we would get crafty for each other and we'd make TikToks together. And anytime we're on set, yeah, we would just try and spend as much time together as we could. And our chairs would always be next to each other. And yeah, honestly, we just like acted like little kids, even though that we're all in our 20s. Acted like kids and we'd have dance parties on set. And
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, It looks like from what I have seen of different videos, pictures and stuff like that, it looks like it was a lot of fun when you guys were on set. And I think I've seen some of the TikToks and things like that. So and I mean, but that's also kind of nice that you knew some of the people going into it, because I know like sometimes you're going into a new project, you don't know anybody. It's kind of like that first day of going to you're the new kid at school, you don't know anyone, and it's kind of like a little like awkward like at first. So it's nice that you knew some of the people already going into the project.
Yeah, oh, totally. But it's funny though, because for a lot of us, our very first day, so the first thing that we shot was episode 2 in at Dot's party.
Oh, yep.
And our very first day together was the spin the bottle scene.
What a way to kick it off.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, so we're all gonna make out together today and get to know each other. And honestly, it was great. It just like broke the ice between all of us.
Yeah.
And
Just like after filming that, you're like, all right, we're good to go for the rest of the series.
yeah, exactly.
So I have to talk to you about the obviously the musical numbers, being such a big part of the series. What went into filming some of those, and do you have a favorite one that stands out from the series? And if it's one that's later on in the series, you can just say it's like, a later like episode, but do you have like a favorite one overall?
Um, I think, well, I Want More, which is Marissa's solo, is just
So
everyone's
good.
talking about it. It's
Yeah.
so
So
good.
good.
And all of us have just been sitting on this song because we all have the playlist ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'd like be playing in my apartment, but like not too loud so people don't hear it. But it's such an amazing number. Um, and honestly, the opening number, Grease is the Word, was so much fun to film and was just one of the most incredible shoots. It was a night shoot. We did it over 2 nights. And it's an original Grease song, and the choreography was amazing. Working with Jamal Sims. Jamal Sims was amazing. Yeah,
Great
I
way to
think
kick off the show too with that. And I imagine that must have been, I mean, just obviously, with the like the pandemic and stuff like that too, but there were so many people there, so many moving pieces. I imagine that must have been fun, but I imagine it was also very challenging to get all of that, working together like at the same time as well.
yeah, very challenging. Rainstorms in the middle of the night.
Of course.
Of course, because let's just create a hoop and light it on fire and jump
Yeah.
through it.
Yeah, why not?
But we made it work. I don't know. And we were just, we would do one shot and it just looked so amazing. We were just so stoked on how it was turning out. So it definitely just kept everyone so motivated throughout the nights.
Yeah, no, I imagine just get because it's one thing to shoot a series where you just you're acting, but then filming a musical where it's like you incorporate the dancing, the singing, the acting as well. It's just like it's a whole new beast.
Yeah. And this was my first bigger job. So the fact that I get to dance and act in the show is just icing on the cake.
Yeah, combining both of your loves. So that must have been basically like a dream come true.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, in what ways were you able to relate to Rosemary? Because she's got that mean girl, vibe to her. And from talking to you, Charlotte, you don't come off as very, very mean. So you're playing a character also from a different, completely different time period. So just how were you able to connect with this character?
It was hard at first because I mean, I couldn't stand the mean girls that I went to high school with. And I was like, but at the end of the day, especially with the actor, like the actor's job is to always empathize with your character. And
Exactly.
you gotta find, why they are the way they are. And I think Rosemary is really just another kid just trying to survive high school. And she got really good at it, maybe not going the best way about it, but it's working for her. So she's just keeps feeding into that beast of being mean to everyone and making people fear her and kind of even attacking her own friends.
Yeah. It's one of those things though. It's like, yeah, I mean, everyone at some point goes to like high school. So yeah, like you mentioned, you have to find a way, like even when you're playing a character, you don't necessarily connect or relate to all the pieces, like something like that. I feel like everyone can relate to at some, point in their life, obviously.
Yeah.
So out of all the different groups at Rydell, Charlotte, for you, which one do you think that your high school self would have fit in with the most?
I think the thespians,
Thespians?
probably. Um, yeah, I mean, I've always been a performer. I love to perform and I love to be weird and I don't really care about what other people think. And yeah, I think the thespians.
I know that's one of the because I was actually talking to Jason recently as well, and that was one of the groups that he mentioned for that too.
Okay, yeah, I think a lot of us can relate to the thespians. All of us on set were so jealous of the thespian group as well because they got to just like be doing these like funny exercises in the back and they were just playing so much on set. Whereas when you're a Soc, a lot of the time you're just like snarling and standing there, which is also fun. But
Yeah,
I think a lot of us were a little jealous of the thespians.
yeah, no, I mean that's understandable. And so even though one of the interesting things I think about the series that even though it takes place in the 1950s, for me, like watching it, it also has this timeless feel to it as well. So why do you think that is?
I think I mean Annabelle said it really great. You know, the original movie is a 1970s lens on the 50s. And then our show is a 2020 lens on the 70s about the 50s. You know? And I think that we couldn't make a show about Greece, about the 1950s, without exploring and exposing some of the things that were going on back then. And I think that, yeah, I think it's just like also, I don't know, it creates for better story. There's just way more interesting stories within that, and instead of just following, a romantic story, and that's kind of it. It's exploring
Yeah,
all the different groups and the struggles that a lot of kids had, and they weren't living in a time where they could express themselves and just be themselves. So it was really awesome that we got to just kind of, as people are calling it woke, but I'm like, it's just showing it for what it is.
yeah, no, and I like that the show it also does a good job of it obviously has like the fun elements, has all the singing, the dancing, and stuff like that, but then it also, like you said, it tackles subjects that were going on then, some subjects that are still that we get to see like today. So I think that kind of like plays into it as well, and like we were just like talking about, everyone at some point, goes to some kind of like school like in their lives. So I think everyone can kind of see themselves in each, at least like one of these characters, like in the show.
Totally. Yeah. We have so many characters in the show, and all very different. And even just within all the groups, like the pinks, every single pink is so different. Every
Yeah.
single Soc is also different, even though we seem like robots, but there are differences.
Yeah. Everyone,
Yeah,
I think everyone kind of gets their own like little like moment to shine, throughout like the series, which is, really nice as well. And hard because, when you do have such a big cast, that's hard to get like those little moments for everybody, but you guys are doing a really good job with what we've seen in the series so far. Kind of going back to just talking about like being like on the set and stuff like that, I've seen like I said, I've seen a number of like the TikToks, the videos, and stuff like that. For you, Charlotte, are there any specific moments or memories that just come to mind from you guys shooting or hanging out with the members on set?
um there was this day that we had rehearsals for a number that I can't say what it is because it hasn't come out yet.
Oh, that's
Um,
fine.
but everyone was there, and we had a lot of time. The sun finally came out in Vancouver. We had such a bad spring. The sun was finally out, and when we had breaks, it was best for us to just be outside for like COVID reasons and everything. And all of us started doing these races on the lot, but not just normal races. It was like best speed walk, best Captain Jack Sparrow run, um, Cod Berets. Like it was just like the silliest,
Ridiculous.
ridiculous day ever. And I will remember. I have videos of it. I'm sure people are going to be posting them soon, but I will
Can't wait.
never forget that day. It was so much fun, and it was really a moment that all of us, like, you could just see how much we've bonded, and we were
Yeah.
just this big family. And yeah, and even though we were working so hard and so much, we were just still burning energy in between rehearsals.
Yeah. No, it sounds like, I mean, it sounds like, a lot of fun. And I think like you guys having that, that friendship, it definitely comes across on screen, just the chemistry that you got, all the cast members have with each other. So we were on episode 4, I believe, that just got, released. What
Yeah.
can fans kind of expect for the rest of the series? And is there anything else that you would just like to say to the fans to wrap things up?
We're almost halfway. And halfway point is a very exciting point, I think, in any series. Obviously things are going to happen, things are going to change, things you won't expect. And you should get really, really excited for the Pinks to just keep switching things up at Rydell High. Yeah.
I can't. Yeah, no, it's crazy too. Like, I feel like this show literally just premiered like last week or something. Like, I can't believe that we're already on. We're basically like halfway through the show, which is just like nuts. But yeah, make sure you guys. So it's streaming exclusively on Paramount Plus. Episode 4 is out now. If you guys haven't seen it yet, make sure you go on there and catch all the episodes. That way you can get caught up. And where can fans just kind of keep up with you as far as like future projects and everything like that goes, Charlotte?
Oh, I'm on Instagram at it is Charlotte Kavanagh, and you'll see a lot of Rydell TikToks at Charlotte S Cav. That's KAV. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, Charlotte. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to come on here, talk all things about your career, and just talk all things about Grease: Rise of the Pink Ladies. It was great talking to you.
Same here. Thank you so much for having me. Hi, I'm Charlotte Kavanagh. I play Rosemary on Grease: Rise of the Pink Ladies, and you're listening to Pop Culture with Pat.